I did, I was just telling him that.
Oh, that
Yeah.
was funny.
I
I'll
say
refrain
stick with the
from-
Green arrow.
from bad
I'm
analogies
coming up with an
tonight.
analogy tonight. I
Tough
don't
to
know
top
when or
that
where.
I'm gonna try to work in my kids' spelling words.
Good evening. It's Thursday, April 17th, 2025, 6 p.m. This is called to order the City of Franklin Plan Commission. Mr. Martinez, would you please take the roll?
Mayor Nelson,
Here.
Commissioner Specht is excused. Commissioner Shago,
Here.
Commissioner Haley is excused. Alderman Salus,
Here.
Alderwoman Day,
Here,
Commissioner Leon.
Here.
Excellent. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item B, approval of the minutes. Approval of the regular meeting minutes of April 3rd, 2025. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Going on to item C, public hearing business matters. Number one, update to the city's noise regulations and ordinance to amend chapter 183, article 13, noise and vibrations of the municipal code and repeal section 15-3.1107, noise of the unified development ordinance. So, Mr. Martinez, would you like to read that, what your piece is there?
Yeah, thank you. Good evening. So the city started this project over a year ago when the council authorized a consultant to prepare the draft noise ordinance. However, there is a recent proposal from an acoustical consultant that was not kind of considered when the draft was prepared. So with that, staff recommend that further action on this item be deferred to a future plan commission meeting pending the review and feedback from the city's sound engineering consultant.
There you go.
However, there is a presentation with the progress so far, so up to the commission. I want to hear the presentation.
And we would still conduct the public hearing,
Correct.
because there are neighbors here that I'm sure would like to speak on that. Okay. All right, that sounds like a plan to move forward.
Okay, so I will continue with the presentation. Okay. So currently, the noise regulations of the city are in the UDO and the municipal code. However, that's create confusion because there are some sound levels by zoning districts in the Unified Development Ordinance that are to be enforced by planning staff. And there are other sound levels in the municipal code that are to be enforced by the police department. So that creates a lot of confusion and difficult on the enforcement. So what the staff and the project consultant at the time was recommending is to have the noise prevention, which is kind of review when we review projects that goes to plan commission, some conditional uses with other activities, like for example, like sports fields or outdoor venues that will require a conditional use, and in some cases a sound study. So that will be reviewed by plan commission and planning staff, like before the developments. And then the part of the enforcement, like complaints, that will be part of the municipal code, and the responsible party for that part will be the police department. So we separate the prevention and the enforcement. So the prevention, that was part of the UDO rewrite that the Plan Commission has already recommended approval. So for discussion tonight is the municipal code, the kind of the enforcement part. Okay. Just background, previous activities. So how we get here to this draft. As I mentioned before, the council authorized the budget for additional services for the UDO rewrite project including the preparation of the draft ordinance. That happened in January last year. Then the first step was that the consultant, Hausil Levine, prepared a comparative analysis of other noise regulations in other communities in the southeastern Wisconsin area, such as City of Racine, Berlin, Kenosha, West Allis. A few takeaways from that analysis is that in most cases, the responsible party for the enforcement was police department or health department. Another was some ordinances include the provision of penalties like forfeitures amounts or noise violations, and most of the noise regulations were under the municipal code, not in the zoning ordinance. Other steps following that was working sessions with staff and the project consultant to work on the draft. That was kind of from spring to fall last year. And we also held a workshop with the Plan Commission in August last year. Okay. Major differences between the current and the proposed regulations. The responsible parties, I kind of touched on that before, is proposed to be police department for enforcement and noise abatement in the municipal code, and planning department or zoning administrator, the noise prevention through the development review. Okay. The sound metrics. Currently, the code and the UDO says that decibel levels, that's kind of the metric with the 8 weight. That's kind of common also in other ordinance of the comparative analysis. However, the current regulations are not specific enough on that sound metric. So the proposal is based on the recommendation of the Rock Sports Complex sound study prepared in 2023 that was kind of requested by Milwaukee County. And they recommend 3 different types of sound metrics, kind of for continuous noise that are kind of constant over a period of time, intermittent noise that kind of goes on and off, and impact noise like a short noise could be like a fireworks. And then they propose different sound metrics like the average 5 minutes for the continuous or average 1 minute for the intermittent, and the maximum for the impact noises. This provides a lot of clarity because this is just an example using the sound meter that the city has just in an office setting. So it's kind of the sound is variable. So, and this is pretty obvious that the maximum will be higher than the average. So, however, the current ordinance does not specify if it is a maximum or an average. So, with the proposed regulation will be specific, there is an average for the continuous noise and is the maximum for an impact noise like a fireworks event. So that will be easier for enforcement when they do the measurement to determine what is the metric that they're using to check for compliance with the maximum sound levels. Okay. Also, the current ordinance is more specific in regards to how to measure sound. The current ordinance only says measure at the real property boundary of the noise source. And the proposed regulation is more specific as it goes into the equipment that is necessary to the sound measurements. For example, the handheld sound level that the city has, it meets the requirements of the proposed ordinance. Also, it's specific on the location, that it needs to be at the property line of the receiving land use district, and also the height that it needs to be at least 3 feet above ground. Specific also on the duration, a minimum of 10 minutes for a sound measurement when officer goes to review a complaint, and also the sound metric as I explained before. Okay. With regards to maximum sound levels, the current UDO has sound levels for zoning districts, and the proposed regulation has sound levels for the receiving land use district based on the use, like residential or agricultural, retail, etc. And it doesn't go into the specific of the zoning districts. Some levels are retained from the current regulations, like for example, is the same level for residential districts, 50 decibels for daytime and 45 for nighttime. That's the same that we have in the current ordinance. Which is new is this is kind of a 5 decibel penalty. This is a recommendation from the Milwaukee County Sound Study that for events with music, there's a 5 decibels penalty that then kind of, it has a lower maximum sound levels for these type of events with music. That is new. It's not in the current ordinance. For place of assembly, like institutional, is the same level. Same for most business districts like retail, service, eating places. For industrial, the maximum sound levels are higher than the current regulations. However, in the comparative analysis that I mentioned, other communities like Racine, New Berlin has, for example, 80 decibels for industrial, and Kenosha has 75. Okay. Okay. And sound levels for special events. The current regulations are confusing because they say for special events or for events with permits, maximum the sound level should be between 70 and 79, and for a variance between 80 and 89. But it's not clear what happened for an event that is below 70 or over 89. So we kind of clarified that for special events is up to 79, and variances like fireworks, it will be over 79. Okay. Just want to mention that some sections of the code that are kind of retained from the current regulations without changes. The noise from vehicles, that's retained. The exceptions like lawnmowers, emergency signals, construction activities, that's retained, no changes. And also the part that talks about vibrations. So there are no changes on that. At your seats, I kind of place revised draft and include feedback from the police department and also Attorney Borda. Okay. And there is a question that staff recommends to that change to move the definitions currently at the end to move it at the beginning of the chapter. That's really common in the municipal code, that starts with definition and then goes into the provisions. And as I stated again, the staff recommendation is to table. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, if we want to do perhaps questions after the public hearing, and then we'll go from there, because I do have some, but I want to make sure it's after the hearing, because I'm sure it'll probably mimic some of the citizens that are here tonight. So why don't we go with that? Are you done with the presentation part? Yes. If you don't mind reading the public hearing notice.
Notice of public hearing, City of Franklin Plan Commission, hearing date at Thursday, April 17, 2025, at the Common Council Chambers at Franklin City Hall, 9229 West Loomis Road. The applicant is the City of Franklin, property citywide. Proposal is an ordinance to amend Chapter 183, Article 13, Noise and Vibrations of the Municipal Code, and repeal Section 15.3.1107, Noise of the Unified Development Ordinance. This public hearing is being held pursuant to the requirements of Wisconsin Statutes, Section 6223.7D2 and Division 15.902.00 of the Unified Development Ordinance. The proposed ordinance is subject to revisions following public hearing and the further consideration by the Plan Commission and the Common Council.
Okay, it is now 6:16 PM. I'll open the public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak on this, please come to the podium. State your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. Whoops. Sorry about that. Linda Mathwig, 7321 Brun Drive. I'm in disbelief that this public hearing is even on the agenda tonight to increase the noise regulations in the Unified Development Ordinance. Why are you discussing this now when the city has approved having a third party come in to determine sound needs and to evaluate the noise issues? During my run for the aldermanic position in District 5, I had the privilege to meet many constituents. The neighbors explained their personal issues with the city of Franklin, and to be blunt, they are angry. They are tired of the city governance doing nothing to make life better for the citizens. Noise in this city has been a long-standing issue, for myself specifically being within a 2-mile radius of the Rock Ventures events and Rootfest at the Root River Center. The only reason that I can think of that you would approve this and advance it to the Common Council vote is that it would personally benefit you. I strongly urge you to table this update to the city's noise regulations. Please take into consideration the citizens and this city and the surrounding cities. This has been a long-standing issue, and any increase would only exacerbate existing problems. Make a decision that will protect the well-being of every citizen. Thank you.
Danella McAdams, 8735 West Hawthorne Court. I have some concerns regarding the proposed noise code. I am wondering why this noise code is being presented prior to an acoustic engineer expert to give their expert recommendations for decibel levels for residential areas and how to mitigate the noise. Since 2023, at 7 different meetings, the agenda item number 1 was solution to the noise issues at the Rock. Here we are discussing the same old issue. Where is the expert solution? The noise issue and nuisance to neighbors has been going on for a decade. Clearly, the city has yet to solve this issue. Also on the proposed noise code, there is no definition of what a special event is and no limit on the number of special events, which is clearly a problem to the neighbors. There needs to be a limit on the number of special events. The 100+ events from May to October are not community-sponsored events like St. Martin's Fair, but instead each week and some weeks there are multiple events going on. These events have proven over and over again to be disruptive to surrounding neighborhoods. I would think 2 special events a year would be a reasonable number in order to restore the quality of life to the surrounding neighbors. This is a long-standing public nuisance issue. I believe no noise code should be recommended for adoption and no decibel levels set for events until an expert acoustic engineer supplies input, and this input should also be presented to the public. Thank you.
Mr. Martinez, could you state that again, that you said that you recommended this to be tabled until after that third party came through? Could you, maybe that didn't go through in this?
It did go through.
Okay.
We made time to come to this meeting that we
Right.
over and over again, so we would like to defer.
And that's, no, it's, we said that we're having the hearing, but people keep saying that we've already said that we're gonna table that part until after that third party's done. So that's why. So we're still having the hearing, having everything up, but that is our plan and that's what we are going to do.
Dana Gint, 9011 West Hawthorne Lane. The noise code has multiple issues that have not been properly addressed and are longstanding issues, including a specific restriction on the number of special events allowed in an area. Even the city planning department comment for the 4 applications for 50 events on April 2nd listed this. City development staff is concerned with the quantity of extraordinary events applications for this site, since the UDO does not provide a definition or annual limit. So why this is not being addressed specifically in the noise code is very concerning. The JPM acoustic engineer should obviously supply input into not only the decibel levels at not only the source, but also the surrounding districts, and also supply limitations and conditions required for special events, specifically limiting the number and quantity of special events. Noise cannot be averaged for music or baseball games. The definition that you're using is totally invalid. If you actually look at the Greendale Code, we have proven that RSG report is inaccurate and inefficient in multiple ways. And they're using the Greendale Code in it. They didn't even review the code itself, the definition. So that needs to be looked at. They're not even using the right definition. So continuous noise is not music. It is not concerts. It's any noise that varies less than 3 decibels over 5 minutes. If you look at the monitoring reports for the concerts and everything else, it is literally every second. It goes up and down 10 to 20 decibels every couple seconds. So that is not an appropriate use to call concerts as continuous noise and average the decibel levels over 5 minutes. By averaging decibel levels, it's literally manipulating the actual impact in the neighborhoods. We don't call when there's a space between the songs, when it's quiet between songs. We don't call that. We call when it's disrupted, when it's the peak level. So by averaging it, as you showed even on your little recording on the office space, that your recording shows that the decibel levels for averaging is 10 decibels different. Think about that over 5 minutes of a concert. It's totally an intentional way that the city is going to manipulate what the actual impact is. That cannot be done. If you look at the Noise Publishing Clearinghouse, which has 500 ordinances nationwide of the largest communities in the United States, they not only have 50 decibels, 50 to 55 for all residential districts, but it's also an instantaneous noise measurement. This is 500 of the largest communities in the United States. It's an easy thing to research, Noise Publishing Clearinghouse, which is referenced in numerous sound studies, and it's actually referenced in the county sound study. But there's many legal cases that organization, it's a nonprofit publishing clearinghouse ordinance that lists all their ordinances nationwide. And 50 decibels to 55 decibels is the median and the mode for across the nation instantaneous measurement. That's what needs to happen here. There's no reason to do anything else, any other manipulation. That would be intentional. As I said, and I did supply comments to several members of the Planning Commission about the correct definition of continuous noise, which I copied right from the Greendale ordinances. And then obviously the noise code needs to reference Chapter 178 nuisances. Just like the special events need to reference nuisances. Chapter 178 of the Franklin Code indicates that a public nuisance is a condition or use of a property which substantially annoys, injures, or endangers the comfort, health, or repose or safety of the public, or interferes in the use in any way. The annual planning reports for the Rock Sports Complex, the annual planning reports for the entire city indicated in 2023 that there were 150 noise complaints for specifically the Rock. And in 2024, there were 116 noise complaints in total, including the police and the planning department. So obviously there's a significant nuisance issue going on here that has not been addressed. And I can read the definition for continuous noise if you need me to from Greendale. Continuous noise, any noise whose level varies less than 3 decibels during the course of a period of at least 5 minutes. Noise is to remain constant and stable with less than a 3 decibel change over the period of 5 minutes. That is obviously not what music or baseball games are about. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else wishing to speak at this time? I'll keep it open. I'll ask one more time. Close the public hearing at 6:25. Now we'll open up to comments. And I'll start. So we brought in the third party JPM to come and give us points, direction. We need that. Because when I hear things come out of a neighbor's voice, like not for us to not to manipulate things. I don't want to manipulate. I don't want to see the sound monitors. I don't want the city touching the sound monitors. I don't want the Rock touching the sound monitors. I want a third party dealing with the sound monitors and making sure that they're calibrated, making sure that they're operational at all times, making sure that we can also see them in real time on the city's website. That's one of the many steps that we're trying to do, because to the chagrin of some, perhaps, this is not, and I'm not pointing at the officers, I'm pointing back in that area of the room. I'm going to speak for myself. I don't want to see upset neighbors here. I also don't want to be targeted as like we're trying to manipulate something. That is an absolute absurdity. So we want it done. We're looking to spend money to have a third party come in here to get this done. And that's my point on that. Now, if I can go back to this document, which I believe is page 2, if you want to bring it up on your screen, where it says the maximum allowed continuous and intermittent average sound. Yeah, perfect. So I guess now we look at a many decades old ordinance that says 55 decibels, which isn't accurate. And now we're looking at actually making it lower than this. And I'm going to say this again, like Groundhog Day, horrible movie. I've gone out to Hawthorne. I've had my own sound meter that we bought on Hawthorne at the Knolls in front of their mailbox, and it's in the low to mid 50s when there's nothing going on. So I'm going to be asking JPM, how do we now say, oh, we want it to be 50 maximum? Because complaints will come in. Complaints will come in. How do those get addressed? Because with ambient noise sitting there, nothing going on, it's in low to mid 50s. Well, this makes it even lower. That's the big concern. That's a huge concern. And I've done that. I've talked about it. I've talked about it with Dana Gint. I've talked about it with that whole neighborhood group. It's got to be realistic. So to lower that even more makes no sense. And I don't know, and I guess it's never been explained, how does this noise decibel limit decrease, yet just standing there in ambient is just continuously 51, 53, 54. It's nonstop on the west side of this area. So that's going to be looked at. I'll be talking to JPM about that, because if it's, I don't know how it could be done differently. And that's not even, so when I'm standing on Hawthorne, technically it's actually west of the property line. That would be in all reality, if it's at the property line, it'd probably be even higher, because I don't know, what am I, 25 or 30 feet from the actual line, maybe more. So there's concerns about that, and if it's realistic, because I think lowering it is it doesn't make any sense to me. 55 is where we're at now. That it never, and I think I went out there 3 times, and it was in April, and it was low, it didn't top 55, but it was low 50s with ambient. I think it was 10 a.m., 1 p.m., and like 4 p.m. before nothing was going on. So I just think that that's something that JPM needs to be made aware of as we move forward with this, because that's not going to be realistic, in my point. I'll yield for now. Alderwoman Day?
Thank you. A couple of housekeeping questions first, because I don't want to waste our time if we're planning to table this and come back. But what is the timeline we're looking at for this with JPM coming in and doing it? Are we talking a month? Are we talking 6 months? Are we talking longer than that?
Madam Director of Administration?
Thank you. So I received a narrowed scope today within a revised proposal. And what I plan to do is bring that to council for the May 6th council meeting and hope that we can start moving forward with this and get them working on this issue as soon as possible.
Thank you for that. So, because where I'm getting stuck in this process right now is that my understanding is that we're asking JPM to come in and look at one specific location, one specific site. This document is for the entire city. And while I understand that there may be things that is recommended from that particular company for mitigation measures, this document is not mitigation. This document is about measurement and it's about enforcement. So I struggle with tabling it because I'm not sure what they're going to do that's going to be applicable to a municipal ordinance. I think they're two separate things. I completely believe that JPM will give us a multitude of ideas for things to improve the quality of what is going on at that one particular location, but I'm not sure that tabling this for an indefinite period of time when this is for the entire community is necessarily the best play either. So that is where I'm struggling the most. So I have specific questions for the content of this document, but if we are just going to table it, I'm not going to waste time with questions on the content of it at this point. I'll yield.
Alderman Salus.
The point I'd like to make, when we deal with the development in general, we have zoning plan, master zoning plan, then we have special use, then we have the unified ordinance, then we have something called planned development district. So just like I second what Courtney said, that I do support a general noise limitation ordinance, for the city in general. But at the same time, when you have a specific development like the Rock complex, there has to be, just like we have a planned district development, there has to be, when we approve any project of such, caliber, there has to be a provision for the noise mitigation, what's the projected noise, and how we going to mitigate that. So part of me, I'd like to have the ordinance approved, but at the same time, this is not tailored for the Rock. The Rock issue has to be addressed after we receive the professional evaluation, and after we receive the evaluation, we have to act on it, and that will be the proper, but the Rock has to have its own discussion. That's the way I see it.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on this at this time? Mr. Leon.
Thank you, Mayor. As in other agenda items to do with changing ordinance, if we're going to vote yea or nay, I would abstain. But if we're going to table, I would vote on a tabling item. Like most on this commission, I got several emails. Thank you. Ms. Gint, the Kleist, and Ms. Jorginus. The only question I have, and I guess I am wasting a little bit of time, can you go to the next slide, please, Mr. Martinez? So the proposed variance over 79 dBA, that's the proposed change. Would there be a hard limit on what that variance would be? I mean, it wouldn't be 79 to infinity, right? There would be, I would think, in an ordinance that I believe the council should vote on without my input, but do I understand right that variance over 79 has no hard limit, or would there be statutorily some limit?
In this draft ordinance, there's no limit for the variances because fireworks may be 100 or even more.
Okay. Yeah, then I would just ask then that consideration be made, especially based on some of the concerns of neighbors. I live probably similar distance as Ms. Matwig from the Rock, and I know this isn't specific to the Rock, but that's the biggest noise area in the city, to consider for council having some hard limit on what a variance could go up to. That's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to add something to that, and that's a great catch, because when we talked about the things that would go over 79, other than fireworks, I don't see anything that has the need to go over 79. That's my personal opinion. I'm one of many to speak on this, but to the neighbors' points and to anybody's points, I don't know why we would need to go over 79 ever, other than fireworks. And I think that should be put in there and make it that way. That would probably have avoided some problems to that one concert that we had. That probably would have addressed that. And I don't see, perhaps maybe I'm missing it, but I don't see anything that should be over 79. I think 79 should be the hard stop, other than fireworks. And that's all I'll say on that. Ms. Day?
Okay, so I would say my 2 points for the content of just for posterity. I agree with some of the comments that were made tonight from the public. I do feel that this might be an applicable place to have a discussion about quantity of events. I have seen that in some of the other municipalities, some that were in the document that was provided to us, and some that I've done my own research on. So I think it is a fair avenue to look at neighboring communities or other communities with similar entertainment areas to see if there are such limitations. I think that is a fair ask, especially with things regarding like fireworks, for example. I think that is a fair ask to, if we are going to table this for a while, I think that's a fair thing to research. And then my other point is on, this is my page, it's page 7 of the, I think it's the same page, it's page 7 of the document. This is clarification. So, number 3, so it's, number 3 at the top. This is talking about enforcement. Subsequent offenses shall be those occurring within 365 days of the first offense for a single site. So when we have bigger locations, so let's say the Croatian soccer field, let's say Root River, let's say Ballpark Commons, when we say specific site, they do events at different locations within the bigger like complex. So I think we just need to be a little bit more intentional so that we're not either penalizing things that shouldn't be, or we're not missing something if there is a particularly egregious situation that happens and we miss it because someone's messing around with like an address or the name of, you know, the person who's doing the event. Just, I think that needs to be, for the license committee, I feel like that's going to be something that is looked at on their side. And then the other is in number 4, a noise, if you could just explain to me what this sentence means. A noise violation offense shall be considered for a 4-hour period during which a noise violation has not been remedied, unless a more restrictive noise violation offense definition is included in a special event license. So what I'm taking that to mean is that in our latest special events that we approve, let's say Hills Have Eyes, there was a, you know, we have the sound limit that we give to the police department, and we say there's a 15-minute correction period. So is this saying that if we don't put a correction period on there, the event would have up to 4 hours to fix it? That seems like an egregious amount of time.
Yeah. So yeah, just to clarify on that, on the page 6, section B1, there is the kind of that 15-minute
Yeah.
correction period.
Yeah.
Okay. So if it's not corrected, then it's a violation, right? And then if let's say that the exceeding is 1 hour, then it will be a second violation if it's after the 4 hours not correct, and there is a second violation, and the forfeiture is kind of actually double or increase. So because one of the questions that we have in the past was if there is an event that is exceeding for 2 hours, for example, is that one violation,
Yep.
2 violations, 3 violations? How many violations per day, right? Or 1 violation per day? So this is to clarify that, okay, it's a violation for that period of 4 hours. If it's continued, then it will be a second violation.
But I mean, I understand what you're saying. I just think that is a bit ridiculous because if there was a level that was set and it was verified that they went over it, it should just take the one correction. And if they continually keep doing it, I feel like that should be another one. There shouldn't be an extra amount of time. I mean, this could be for debate later on, but I feel like that whole point in there is just, I feel like you're giving the entity to be like, well, I corrected it, I've got my one fine, I don't have to worry about doubling it, I can, crank it again for another 3 hours, and I've got a free pass. Is how.
I know, I understand what you mean, but yeah. So this was to clarify if it's 1 violation per day or not, or it could be more or multiple violations per day. But that actual time, the 4 hours,
Yeah.
that could be revised to be, I don't know, 30 minutes or 1 hour.
Yeah, so so it's just, this is just food for thought for right now. As I said, I think the direction, I think I know the direction this is going, so I'm not going to hammer it too hard right now, but I will hammer it harder when we're back on an actual vote on this document, because that one sticks in my craw a little bit. That's all I have, thank you.
Mr. Shago?
And this study that we had up there, regular, and then we talked to the other communities that provided data, was there any data on how many events came under noise violation?
No.
I think that's part of the crux of our problem, is we have people that violate because they have a lot of events. A lot of those events cause violation.
Yeah.
Are we on the top end of that spectrum? Are we?
No, the analysis was about the actual ordinances, was not about the quantity of violation or complaints.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I am a big proponent of JPM getting involved in evaluating that information. I think it's very important we do that and before we go forward. So I guess we'd be in favor of tabling it.
Right. One last thing, when we talked about the amount of events, and when we're talking, we're talking in a calendar year, so you've got, just so those at home are wondering, wow, 100 events, how could that be? So we're talking 50 Milkman games, 10 Hills Have Eyes events this year. I mean, we're talking about adding all those up into one calendar year, correct? Plus the concerts on Saturday nights. Mr. Martinez, and only Mr. Martinez, what do you think about that? Is that what we're looking at here?
This proposed ordinance does not set a maximum number of special events, but be consideration when the
Well,
host take
and
over.
that's the thing is, we want to be careful that we're not boxing ourselves in by ordinance, and we want to make sure that we're looking at it realistically, because of course, no other communities around us are going to have that many because they don't have a Milkman baseball team. Okay, that's 50 home games, assuming that they don't make the playoffs. So I'm just giving one example of, that we make sure that we are aware of what that 100 means, and that what that divides it up over the course of the year. And of course, unfortunately, most of this entire conversation, and including all the people that have come up here, are pretty much talking about the Rock. So let's, call that what it is. And occasionally, we had the one at Root River that was mentioned. They're not having it this year. So now that's gone, doesn't need to be talked about. They're not having it. So now we refocus to this. But when we were talking 100, I definitely want to break down, what that equates to, not that it's like, well, no, we're going to cap it at 75. Well, we have to look at exactly what that means. And I'm just cautioning members of the commission, electeds, that when we look at this, it's got to be inclusive of everything that's going on up there. And I think that's just one important piece to this. So with that said, with no further discussion, if we're looking to table this, I'll entertain a motion. And Counselor, I'm gonna softball the counselor to bring him up here if you want to solely hit his button and get him ready to answer my question. So Counselor, what is your suggestion as far as tabling this for a motion?
I don't know that a motion's necessary unless so desired. subject should be put over until review and information is available from JPM as the sound expert upon its review and recommendations.
Sounds like an exceptional motion to me. Anybody wishing to make that motion?
Can I just comment one more
Mr.
time?
Salus, you've got the floor.
You know, we are talking about general ordinance for the city. This is nothing to do with the rock. Do we want to have an ordinance that address the noise issue other than the rock? Like if I want to go do something on 27, is there, you know, we as a city, do we want to have such an ordinance? Even it's general, even it's vague, but you know, do we want to have something or we don't? This is, I am 100% in support of tabling any discussion related to the rock, but this is presented to us as a city ordinance, not a rock ordinance. So I am strongly in support of having a special policy tailored to the rock issue. Every project, like for example, you go to the lakefront when they have the summer fest, it's the lake out there. You make whatever noise you make, you know, it's, you know, every project has its own specific circumstances. So I am, you know, again, I support general ordinance, but the rock issue has to be revisited.
Yielding, sir? So we have a, Mr. City Attorney?
I dare say that regulation of sound within the city of Franklin is substantially related to the Ballpark Commons property.
Agreed. So we have a proposed motion. Is there a motion on that?
So moved.
We have a first.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Mr. Martinez, could you do a roll call, please? Because I believe I will be voting.
Commissioner Shago.
Aye.
Alderman Salus.
Abstain.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Your first vote is abstention.
Commissioner Leon.
Aye.
So we've got, Counselor, we have 3 ayes, 1 abstention. Now, does that put me in a voting situation?
Majority of a quorum, we don't need,
Well, there's times that I voted when we.
are all votes for required or just resolutions and ordinances?
Well,
Mayor?
4 votes for a motion.
All right,
Yeah.
for all motions then, Plan Commission, Mayor is presiding officer can vote to affect the result.
Aye. Okay. Moving on. So moving up to item D as in David, citizen comment period. Citizen may comment upon the business matters items set forth on this meeting agenda, which would be items E1, 2, or 3. Under E as in Edward. So if you want to comment on those, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you can only comment on items E1, 2, or 3. Citizen comment period is now open.
Hello again, Linda Mathwig, 7321 Brun Drive. I apologize for repeating myself, but I will stress that there are many citizens who are very unhappy with the city government. You are employees and volunteers of the citizens to do what is best for the citizens. Regarding items E1 and 2, I don't know why this is on the agenda. The word around town is that the Rock Ventures has not paid the shortfall of property taxes, and it is said that a deal is being made with the owner to possibly omit next year's tax payment completely. I do not know this for a fact, but it is hearsay that I have been told. If my memory serves me correctly, I was informed that any business that was not up to date with tax payments would not be able to get any type of license or permits. For the benefit of those who are here and those listening at home, before these items are brought up for discussion, I think the citizens of Franklin deserve to know the status of the outstanding taxes.
Okay, items E, 1, 2, or 3. Anyone else wishing to come to the podium to discuss items E, 1, 2, or 3?
Hello again. I'm talking about noise. The city of Franklin.
Just name
had-
and address again,
Oh,
please.
I'm sorry. Danella McAdams, 8735 West Hawthorne Court. The city of Franklin has had numerous meetings with discussions about solutions to the noise problems at the Rock, which resulted in the resolution and commitment to restore the quality of life to surrounding neighbors. Quiet enjoyment was restored at my home for the Milkman games last year. While I could still hear the games on occasion, it was not as nearly as intrusive as previous years. I could actually sit inside and outside my home in peace. Unfortunately, this had not been the case since 2019. There are other equivalent-sized stadiums in the area that are not disruptive and have not received any complaints in 3 years of operation. No decibel levels should be approved for any activity at the Rock until the acoustic expert is involved to solve the problems. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dana Gint, 9011 West Hawthorne Lane. There shouldn't be a discussion about increasing noise levels for the Milkman games. The Economox Stadium has 0 noise complaints in 3 years and has a higher attendance rate and no fireworks. The games are not audible 400 feet into the parking lot on a Sunday afternoon. Or there should be any increase in decibel levels above 55 decibels at the property line, which is measured 1,300 to 1,700 feet from the noise source. Think about that. Think about how far away that is. In 2024, as part of the solutions to the noise noise issues at the Rock, there were sound checks for each of the venues at the Rock. Several elected officials, a police officer, several representatives of the Rock, and a group of neighbors all sat and agreed on establishing 55 decibels for the Milkman games. That was a reasonable standard, and the neighbors could hear it, but the acoustic representative operating the speaker systems approved the operation of 55 decibels, as well as all of those in attendance. Mayor Nelson stated in September of 2023 that the year before the revision of the Milkman levels, that he could hear the baseball game announcer at the Whitnall Golf Course, which is over a mile away. So why is there any discussion, yet again, to create a nuisance and increase the decibel levels? The developer was fully aware of the noise regulations at the property line that needed to be complied with when they built this. The original application for the stadium includes that the development committed to installing acoustic systems that would ensure protections against the neighbors. That is filed March 2014, packet 1. I sent some of you guys that emails. Specifically, bottom of page 3, the public address system proposed for this project is substantially different from what was standard in outdoor acoustic systems for other ballparks and stadiums. In the past, public address systems consisted of a point source or a cluster of speakers mounted on poles in the outfield. This system produced significant noise pollution because of the amplified sound was being projected in a multi-directional signal. The public address system proposed for this project stadium includes technology to reduce significantly, if not eliminate, audible decibel levels or noise pollution that may disturb adjacent property owners. The following design guidelines ensure that we will accomplish this goal of minimal decibel levels. All speakers incorporated in the design are individually amplified and distributed throughout the ballpark. Our speaker cabinets are aimed directly into the crown and designed to get the loudspeaker closer to the listener's ear. We do this, and then we don't have to drive the loudspeaker as much as a point source would. That system is literally what they did in Economox. It's indicated in their sound study. It's indicated during their public presentations. So why is there any discussion to increase Milkman decibel levels when they did not design the system the way they said they were going to? The city needs to hold them accountable and fix the sound system. It's a sound system problem. If the developer actually installed the system as presented, this public nuisance wouldn't be ongoing for the 50 baseball games, plus the 20 UW Panther games after they start adjusting for the Milkman games, the in-between games. The developer acknowledges that cluster speakers result in a significant noise pollution. The RSG report includes that there are speakers, well, there were until October 2024, there are speakers that are clusters, which is what they said they were not going to do, and that they're pointing at the neighbors. Obviously, this is a significant problem, and I disagree with Mayor Nelson stating that the ambient noise is 55 decibels in the neighborhood. It's not, Mayor Nelson. And I'm sure the JP acoustic people can come out and make measurements, and that's part of the expertise that they will come and do. So,
Well, I do have to now engage with you since you threw me in the mix. I was out there 3 times with a decibel reader in the low 50s on Hawthorne outside the Knowles property at their mailbox. So now are you saying that I didn't do that? Are you saying that my apparatus is not accurate? What are you saying?
I'm not quite sure. I don't know what apparatus you're using, but
I'll meet you out there.
Okay, sure.
gladly,
But if you go look
because
at the,
this isn't going to go away. This is going to be an ongoing.
sure.
Been at this for what, over a decade?
Yes, I have.
And,
So,
and I've been up here. Hold on.
Yeah.
I know you're just
Yeah.
itching, but hold on. Okay.
sure.
So 6 years as an alderman, 2 years as the mayor, that I've been involved with this and hearing this, and we want resolution, and we are further now than we've ever been to getting things done. Would you at least agree with that?
I agree the 2024 resolution made improvements when you turned down the Milkman games. That was a significant improvement. Obviously, there was a reduction of 50 complaints that year, which is significant. Obviously, that's a huge improvement. But now there's a discussion right now going on that you're going to increase it back.
Well, okay, so now we've got that portion, that at least you kind of agreed with me. I'll take that as a kind of a good thing. But we're getting to these deals where it's like we get to a point where we are trying to appease and satisfy the neighbors' concerns, which has now been going on over a decade. And we're now to a point with a third-party vendor that we believe strongly is going to be able to come in and at least right the ship, right the record, address the concerns, and put this to bed. And that's what our goal is. So that's where we're at with this. But
I agree. I mean, that's what JPM should be doing, some sort of mitigation plan. And I think they're experts and they will be able to address
yes, ma'am.
what the actual, and I'm just saying, if you look at the actual monitors, or it's like 45 to 50 most of the time, John, if you look at the
I'm using my handheld. I know what you're saying. I agree with you.
okay.
We
I'm
agree
just
on
saying,
that.
right.
But
I'm just saying,
low
but we
50.
also have expressed that the monitors are not properly located, but they are on the property line and they do say 45 to 50 for most times during the day.
And that's one of the
And then it's much lower at night, so.
And that's one of the things that JPM is going to look at is, again, is that the proper location? Is that the proper height? Because as I've worked with you and the neighbors, I've learned a lot about, well, it could not be the height, it could be the location. I mean, so we're going to try to work that and move that around so we are getting the most accurate read from those monitors. And I think that's the most reasonable way to look at things and the most accurate way to look at things.
Right. Well, and the other aspect of the JPM being involved is they can address the low frequency C decibels, which is what is the noise that carries for miles. That's what is carrying for miles. It's not really the A-weighted decibels levels. That's like your fan running right there. But the low frequency noise carries music and speech for miles. And that's the true problem here. And JPM can, and maybe your monitor wasn't reading that. I don't know. But obviously that's a larger impact is the low frequency noise, which JPM is an expert and they should be able to say that neighborhoods should be at 50 or 55 or whatever, or below that even. So I agree. And then when I said about the manipulation, I didn't mean people. I meant that calculating it incorrectly is a manipulation of being accurate for, it's a calculation issue.
I
So
understand that.
thank you.
Now, just to put the record straight, when I was at that tee box at Whitnall Park Golf and I said I could hear the announcer, I used that as an excuse for a bad tee. So
Oh, wow.
I'm just
It
saying.
probably did. I'm just
I
saying
heard
if it was
I
loud.
needed an excuse as to why I shanked it onto Rawson Avenue.
Well, that's good. But you still heard it. And think about that. That's
I
a
don't
mile
think-
away. That's a mile away, Mayor Nelson. So thank you.
All right, anyone else wishing to speak at this time? Alderman Craig?
Oh, my goodness.
What? The wounded? Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Jason Craig, 11710 West Shields Drive. Good evening, commissioners and electeds. I'd like to also speak on E2 and the ballpark noise level that will be set tonight. I think that there has been tremendous progress, as Mayor Nelson has alluded to previously, that there is a great deal of forward progress, both for the neighbors and for everyone that's involved. I do not see the need to change anything and to hold serve at this time. Perhaps maybe some things can change with JPM, perhaps some things can be altered down the road and be revisited. But at this point, what I'm looking at is the 50 baseball games as being something that is very much has been intrusive leading up to prior years. And being able to hold that for the time being until proper mitigation, or if there are any changes that can be made, either technology-wise or by any sort of monitoring-wise, that can give us better, accurate, and comprehensive data, that would be the things that would change it. If, on the other side of things, where I know that an argument can be made saying that, well, the Common Council has increased to 65 on other venues within the campus of Ballpark Commons. That is true. And I hope that our friends at Ballpark Commons will self-regulate and not even approach that 65 mark. But I think with 50 events with baseball, I think that's asking a lot of the neighbors on what could be self-regulation and what may not be in self-regulation. So I would urge you all to hold serve with the 55 decibels for the neighbors. This can all be revisited later on if other data is made present to yourselves and to electeds in the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Craig. Anybody else wishing to speak? Going once. Closed citizen comment period at 7:01 p.m. Going on to E1, I'll read it and then Regulo will take over. Rockin' Food Truck Rally Temporary Use Food Truck Event from May 29th to October 31st, 2025, Thursdays only. Only on Thursdays at the Umbrella Bar upon property located at 7005 South Ballpark Drive, tax key number 744-1003-000. Mr. Martinez.
Good evening. Thank you. This is the Rock and Food Truck Rally that has been approved previously for several years. So since last year, staff referred this application to the Plan Commission due to the noise complaints. And last year was approved with the 55 decibel levels. This is the proposed site plan, the umbrella bar, and the area for the food trucks and the parking.
You need a different pointer.
here.
That's tough to see.
I can see it.
You see it? Okay.
Very
Just
clearly.
Don't like my pointer
Right there.
and you start trouble. Now that's a pointer.
That's, yeah.
So if everybody's good, I have one up here.
Okay. For this year, same location, same hours of operation. In the proposed resolution, which includes the conditions of approval, we incorporated the comments from the health department regards to license for food trucks, and also from the fire department regarding compliance with fire code. With regards to sound levels, so just to recap on the regulations on the sound levels, this site is located in the Planned Development District, Ballpark Commons, which the underlying zoning district is the Park District P1. Maximum sound level by the UDO is 55 decibels. However, per the municipal code, events with permits, like the special event permits, may be approved by a higher level up to 79 decibels, but that approval it's for the Common Council. And the request, for the applicant is 65 decibels north monitor, west 69, and east monitor 65.
Is that consistent with last year, sir?
Well, last year, I don't recall, but what I know is that last year was approved up to 55. That was the approval.
Because it's a wildly successful event.
Okay. And in the conditions of approval recommended by staff, so with regards to sound levels, it says that the maximum sound levels must comply with 55 decibel level measured at the property boundary per the Unified Development Ordinance, unless the Common Council approve higher sound levels pursuant to the municipal code. So staff recommends approval of the event. However, the decision on the sound levels is up to the Plan Commission to kind of refer the application to the Common Council or kind of adopt the resolution as presented.
Discussions? Mr. Leon?
Thank you, Mayor. This is definitely something that I do find this body appropriate to make a recommendation. So as I look at those monitors and we talk about noise all night, I see that to the west, which is where some of the residents are, that we're looking at up to a 25% increase from last year's limits. I'm not a sound expert. I have not researched it over the past nearly decade as much as Ms. Gint, but I am a big fan of food trucks and have been to this event several years, including last year and previous years. And I do believe that the event was very successful last year as well. But clearly they are asking for increases in the limitations from last year because from the applicant's perspective, I think it was probably overly restrictive. So what about the possibility of an incremental increase? And I just did some quick math, and I am also not a mathlete, but up to, for all monitors, 60 decibels, which would be less than a 10% increase from last year's restrictions for this event, is a question. Is it reasonable, in the way that sound is measured, to only go up by 5 decibels from last year's restrictions, or is there some variance that's needed in there to go up to, say, 10 or 14 more than last year? So could we, in theory, limit it to just 60 decibels at all 3 monitors? To staff, Mr. Martinez.
Up to the Common Council.
Okay, yeah, so, but I mean, there's nothing technically, they can't do 60 instead of 65 and 69, correct?
Yeah, because the council may approve higher levels.
Okay,
above.
yeah, so we would be advisory on this. So my thoughts at this point would to be restrict all 3 monitors no greater than 60 decibels. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderwoman Day?
Thank you. I have several points and questions. I don't know, were we planning to have the applicant come up for questions on the application, or?
I was actually going
Okay.
to ask if the applicant wouldn't mind coming up, because I have a few questions in general, if they wouldn't mind, just to the normal table. And then I will simply ask you to state your name and business address for the record, as you may get a couple questions, and then speak real close into this microphone, please. Bring it right in.
Corinne Hoffman, 7044 South Ballpark Drive.
Chris Conley, 7044 South Ballpark Drive.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome. Alderwoman Day, you've got the floor.
And thank you both for coming in tonight. Just a couple of questions on the application. So, as was noted by the planning manager and Mr. Leon, the decibel limit was requested for an increase this year. Could you just kind of go into why you're requesting that increase?
So we do have the acoustic music on Thursdays. We did just match the concert series decibel levels for this event as well.
Okay, so it's going to be the same type of music this year?
As previous years, yes.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, so, and again, my concern was when we talked about the concert series a few weeks ago at License and then at Common Council, the discrepancy with the monitor the farthest away being higher than the other two. And I know the explanation was, the wind and the level and blah, blah, blah. But it still seems, the optics of that look horrendous. I mean, it's like the antipathy that's coming forward from the application to the residents. It looks horrible. And while it may be logistically, from a sound perspective, something, it doesn't look good, and it doesn't look like you're trying to, still be a good neighbor. So much like the concert series, I would recommend whatever the level is set at, that it is the same for the 3 monitors. My next question, and I know this came up last year, this is more directed towards staff. I know that we're doing this temporary use because it involves food trucks. The fact that they're having live music at the event, does that need its own permit or application, or is that just allowed? Why does the Umbrella Bar need a extraordinary event application for bands and live music, but the food truck does not?
Right. There's also a question in regards to the capacity. So the special event is typically for, I think, 250 and over. That's the special event requirement. And also in previous years, since the beginning of this event, has been approved with the temporary use permit.
Yeah. From a congruency perspective, it looks weird that they have to fill out 2 different applications and come before 2 different bodies for essentially kind of the same thing. The only difference is this has food and the other one doesn't. So it seems weird that it's a different process for them and for like council as a whole. It's weird that they have different regulations when it's essentially kind of the same thing. Maybe the new UDO will fix that because food trucks are a little bit more accepting in the world. So maybe, next year won't be as big of a deal, but I just wanted to make sure that we weren't missing, that they needed to fill out another permit. Okay, that takes care of that one. And then the last point that I want to make, and this is just sort of in general, that I don't believe that it's the city's problem to fix the end product of a development. What seems to be happening is the products that are being presented and that are being put on at this location don't have the correct sound systems to produce the type of environment or end result that is desired by the owner of the property, the people that are going to it. But it's not the city's problem to fix that. So just cranking the volume up to make the experience better, I don't think is the solution anymore. So I'm struggling with increasing over the 55 at this point. I haven't made up my mind completely yet, but right now, at this point, I feel like we keep beating a dead horse by having the city solve the problem when the problem is probably the sound system in general. So with that, I'll yield.
Alderman Sluse?
I never been to this event, but this year I will attend just to educate myself on the process. I don't fully understand why do you need such a loud music for a food truck. I buy food from food trucks all the time, and they sometimes play very, very soft music. So I'm just like, we want you to succeed, and we want your business to prosper. But at the same time, you see what, we have also to make sure that the residents are happy and comfortable with what's going on, because they could be your potential customers as well. So I'm just like, I'm more comfortable with the 60 level kind of, somewhere in between. And hopefully that will be a win for everyone here.
Yield? Done. We'll take done or yield. Good. Mr. Shaw, nothing?
Answer my question.
Okay. Mr. Leon, then I'll speak.
Thank you, Mayor. So I would like to ask the applicant about the proposal of 6-0 limit on there, but I'm not the applicant, but what the alderman was just talking about in terms of music. As somebody who's gone to these types of events with young children, and also gone when there are families who are attending or at baseball games for their kids at the various fields, to have that type of entertainment allows you to be able to stay longer, relax more, and have an overall experience more so than just going to get your food and leaving. So I think, you know, in my experience, when you have entertainment available there and potentially a little bit louder entertainment, that just makes it more of an event versus just going to get food. But with that, again, to the applicant, would you be all right with a limit of 60 decibels on all three monitors for exactly the Alderwoman's point about the optics of one to the west, where we have a lot of issues being higher to the applicant?
For the food truck rally, yes, we would be agreeable to the 60 on all three monitors.
Thank you.
Good. So, question, and I enjoy the food trucks. It's been growing every year. It's a big thing. It's the community loves it. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's wonderful. Now, was my question to you is, looking at the request to go higher, was it because these food trucks that have to have their own generators? Is that part of the reason why? Or I'm just wondering, because some of the food trucks I'm seeing now have these internal generators. They're gas run. They're really quiet. Some of the old school ones that come rolling in, you can hear them coming a mile away, and then they roll up, and then it's just that's what I think takes away from the experience. I'm just wondering, is that part of the reason?
Yes, that's one of the reasons. The other reason too is with the amount of people that come to that event, when they are on the patio talking, engaging with one another, there's kids running around screaming, that also muffles the performer as well at the lower level.
I see the music related part.
Correct.
Okay. Now, and this is just another piece to this. When you decide whose food trucks come in, I just noticed last year, and I really never paid attention to this stuff, so I thank you, Ms. Gint. So you educated me a lot on what to look for, what things that generate noise. But when these newer food trucks are coming in, they have that, you don't hear anything. So, I mean, if that's something, I mean, I'm just wondering, I'm not saying you should look to mandate, but it made a big difference. I mean, it was amazing, you know, from the old school where all you hear is a generator, it's loud, you can't understand the vendor. I just recently went to, they had that lobster truck that showed up at the Farm and Fleet in Muskego, and it was actually on Shark Tank. And so they came from Illinois up, and the line was like 100 people long, and it was a huge, you couldn't hear a peep out of that truck. And it was, I mean, it was not cheap to be there. And it was amazing. It was called, I can't think what it was called, it was something lobster, whatever, it came from Illinois. And it was the latest, greatest looking food truck, and they came in, and granted, they're selling a premium item, but the line at one point, I exaggerated 100, but it was at least 50 consistently for the whole time I was there. And I did see the fire chief there, so he could attest to that too. He came incognito. But it was just, maybe it's just a different higher end food truck or whatever, whoever they're investing in. But it'd be interesting to see that, you know, that perhaps when they're coming in, because I'm sure, do you have a list? Are there people on a waiting list? Are there food trucks on a waiting list to come there?
So we do our best. It is in demand to have variety. Not everyone wants to see the same food trucks week after week, so we do our best to get a variety of trucks. And with that, obviously, we have to reach out to multiple. We do have people that reach out, yes. We don't have a wait list.
Okay.
But we do this year, I think, on rotation, about 15 trucks this year.
Excellent. Mr. Leon?
Thank you. Question I meant to ask earlier. Do I remember, does the food truck rally predate Franklin Field, at least the opening? I thought it does.
Yes.
By at least a couple of years, right?
Yes.
And maybe to staff, and I don't know if anybody can answer, but were noise issues ever a problem before Franklin Field and the issues that we've had over, we'll call it the past 6 years?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Thank you.
So with that said, perhaps a motion that may encompass the 60 number.
So the motion would be a recommendation
Right.
to the common council for the 60 decibel level.
Yes.
Okay. So a motion to adopt a resolution imposing conditions and restrictions for the approval of a temporary use for the Rock and Food Truck Rally for property located at 7005 South Ballpark Drive and recommend to the common council a maximum sound level of 60 decibels.
At all three monitors. So moved.
Point of clarification, do we have to add the 15-minute runoff statement as well for the police department? This doesn't have the special event license has that line on it. This does not. I just want to make sure we're encompassing what we need for.
I agree with adding that to the motion.
If you would add that to the motion, we'll see if Mr. Leon would amend his motion to that. But he'll add it and reread it
Right, I
again.
just want to
please.
get a clarification when he adds it.
So if you
So
could,
that is, okay, the only clarification, I think we're referring to, what is it, B2 on the, that came from the ordinance, basically 15 minutes to remediate the noise level.
Correct.
Yeah, I am amenable to that addition to the motion.
okay, is that your second, Alderwoman Day?
I can second that, sure.
Okay, good. We have a first and a second. All those in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Roll call.
Okay.
Can you vote no on?
Commissioner,
Oh, that might be a first. 1956. Mr. City Attorney, can you?
Presiding officer can vote the result.
Question to the city attorney, can this person who seconded the motion vote in the negative?
Yes.
Okay,
Sure.
just want to clarify.
So we'll do a roll call, please, Mr. Martinez.
Commissioner Shago. Okay. Alderman Salus.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
No.
Commissioner Leon.
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. So we've got 4 ayes, 1 no. Motion carries to go to council. All right. Let's see here. E as in Edward 2, Franklin Field temporary use, 2025 baseball season from March 21st to September 1st, and related operations, food and beverage sales, beverage carts, food truck, graduation ceremony, and candy drop upon property located at 7035 South Ballpark Drive. Tax key number 7441003-000. Mr. Martinez.
Thank you. This is for the baseball season for the UWN Panthers and the Milkmen. According to the resolution that approved the stadium, so the applicant will need to apply every year for the temporary use that goes before city development staff. However, since last year, staff referred the application to the Plan Commission due to noise complaints. And this year, the application was submitted late. It was submitted on March 12th at the season started on March 21st. The site plan condition requires that it needs to be submitted at least 90 days prior to the start of the baseball season. The application is for these activities, baseball games, food and beverage structures, beverage sales, food truck, the product hawking, graduation ceremony, and the candy drop event. The application has the site plan submitted by the applicant with the location of the different activities surrounding the stadium. And with regards to sound levels, the applicant is requesting 65 decibels for all 3 monitors. Again, like the food trucks, maximum sound levels 55 by the Unified Development Ordinance, but the council may approve higher sound levels. Just would like to mention that there is a outstanding condition since the approval of the PDD 2019 that states that the applicant shall also provide a report to the Plan Commission after 1 year from the date of occupancy permit of the new stadium to review the results of the noise monitoring. That is still outstanding. So staff recommends that the applicant submit this noise monitoring report as required by this condition. The resolution doesn't have a date, like a deadline, but staff presenting the question for policy direction from the Plan Commission for a deadline to submit the noise monitoring report. We understand that it's already long overdue already. And the recommended condition about the sound level is the same for the food trucks, 55, unless approved by the Common Council. But other than these two issues, staff recommends approval.
Conversation. Mr. Leone.
Thank you, Mayor. To the chagrin of some, I do see Franklin Field and specifically Milwaukee Milkmen game differently than I do the food trucks. I don't think that'll be a surprise to Ms. Kent. I do believe that having the Milkmen and Franklin Field in general is a gem to this community, benefits not only the city of Franklin, but the entire region. We have people who come from outside of Wisconsin to come to these. You think Savannah Bananas when they were here a couple of years ago. So when it comes to sound levels, I do believe that the type of event, even though there would be more, allows for a higher decibel. And I do hear it as well. I do think there are some exceptions, and we'll clarify also. So I was on Plan Commission when Ballpark Commons was approved. I voted in favor at the time. And again, I think it's so strong. Make it a point to not even ask for a discount when I go to any of the events. So I have received no compensation at all from anything to do with this complex. I pay full price, and let's be honest, it's pretty expensive by Franklin standards. But that aside, tacos and tequila night, I was at year one. It was a problem, big problem, not just the sound levels, but the language, right? And last year, being, again, about as far away as Matwig, Phase Fest, in my opinion, was worse. It was hard. So I don't understand. I do understand why they want those levels higher, right? I mean, it's the type of events. That's the reason for it, whether I agree with it or not. But I do think the 79 decibels is too loud for both of those events, especially for the neighbors to the west and our neighbors in Greendale to the east.
Just for point of clarification, could you refocus?
So for
Be
this,
real quick in
this
here, though. Make
sorry.
it count.
For this application, the applicant is requesting 65.
Okay, am I missing something about the application with the levels for those two specific events at the end? Tacos and tequila and
That's
Phase
a separate permit.
Okay.
That goes before Common Council. Actually,
Okay.
went already.
Okay, then, I must have misunderstood that.
Hold on.
Oh, that whole city.
Why's he got to come at you like that?
Thank you. Yeah, so again, I do think that the max of 65 decibels for these is appropriate for these events. So thank you for the clarification. I misunderstood apparently, the higher levels for Tacos Tequila Fest and Phase Fest. I think that's too loud. Thank you, that's all.
Alderman Day.
Thank you. Much like Commissioner Leone, I also have a differing view of the baseball games versus some of the concerts. So I grew up in a couple of different cities watching baseball, much like what the Milkmen put on, understanding that it's not just a game, it's all the things that happen in between innings and whatnot. It's a family event. So I understand all of that. Having had discussions with you all before, and Mr. Zimmerman, you did bring up some concerns about last year versus prior years as far as revenue generation and some of the comments that you received regarding the sound last year when it was at a 55 level maximum. I noticed that that wasn't included in our packets, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but if you could kind of go over some of that only a few of us, have heard that, I believe, on this body. So just so everybody can kind of have the same background information of why you're asking for the increase this year.
Yeah, so happy to speak on that. I guess some of our comments, and I'll read straight off of our reviews, but our net promoter score took a 20% hit last year. So again, that reflects our revenue that also took a hit. But I guess reading off some of these comments that were directly from our customers, and I quote, "Stop messing with the sound volume. At times, very hard to hear. PA was very hard to hear. I'm not hearing impaired and wasn't able to hear much. What was included, especially video ads from the scoreboard." And I guess to go on that, like another piece that, we as a platform, we have non-for-profits at these games, we have veterans at these games that we interview, and it's a significant piece to, us in the community. And people are coming up to us and asking, what nonprofit was that? Or what was the ward that they served in? And to us, like, it's moving and it hurts because we want to showcase those people. So we want to provide that platform and expose them to the community. So.
And then so last year you were at 55. The years prior to that, I believe it was always set at 79, correct?
From my understanding, correct.
Right. So this is not necessarily middle ground, but it is, not asking for the max, asking for a bump. And then the other question that I have on here for the list of temporary uses, you talk about graduation ceremony and candy drop. Are those happening this year? And if they are, how many candy drops? Do you have dates for them? Or is it just, these are things that you could potentially be doing, you just aren't sure if you're doing them yet?
Yeah, so I can speak the graduation. We have it in there in the chance that we've done Greenfield in the past. They did not decide to do it with us this year, so we just put it in there in the chance that it happens. Candy Drop is on August 10th. It's a one-day thing this year. It's on our Fan Appreciation Day. Again, another awesome.
Usually Sunday or day games, right?
It's a Sunday day game, correct.
And then I think one of the complaints that happened before, and I know that you might not have control over this because you're not the, air traffic controllers, but I think one of the complaints in years past was that the helicopter kind of went up early and was just sort of hovering over some of the neighborhoods. And I think that was addressed before the last go round of this, but that would just be my request again to make sure that, if they are up early, that they're kind of doing a wider swath of a circle and not just hovering over a particular neighborhood for any length of time.
Yeah, I actually, so that was an adjustment that we made last year as well. I actually have communication with the pilot day of the event as well, and we can make that very apparent to not be on the west side of the property, so.
Okay, thank you. Those are all the questions I had.
And I think that last one, I think there was, I'm sorry?
We also make sure it's not on the south side too much either.
I believe they came from the east and they hung in from that eastern area. And then we took care of that, so it was fine. But I know there's multiple complaints.
I lied. I have one more thing.
Uh-oh.
What?
One more thing from Alderman Day?
I lied. I'm sorry. I had one more thing. With regard to the noise monitoring report, is that something that is in development that could be done relatively soon? Is it done and you just haven't submitted it yet? It is being recommended by staff as a condition of the approval. So I'm just curious where that is, if you can speak to that piece at all.
Yeah,
And
I guess what I can
recognizing
say.
you may not be able to.
Yeah,
speak
no,
to
I
that
guess this is
question.
news to me, so I guess I'm gonna have to pass on that answer.
Okay. Now done.
So one of the things that I thought was very, very successful last year and was wonderful is when Mr. Atkins came over to the Knoll residence on Hawthorne and actually with his magical laptop, was able to raise and lower everything from bass limits to treble to noise to decibel. I thought it was wonderful, and it was all about how the announcer, how his voice traveled, and he could turn it down, and the bass level was turned down, and I think the neighbors were very happy last year with how the games, proceeded. Yet it was in the low 60s for decibel limits, and it wasn't a problem. So, excuse me, just so I know my request is that we do the same thing this year. Because, we're all learning more about the frequencies and everything else. And I know Mr. Atkins, when he came there, one of the things that I really enjoyed seeing is the neighbors trusted him in his opinion, in my opinion, because he explained what he was doing. And he was right there in real time, going up, going down, and people were like, oh, this is great, this is great. And I would just ask that sound check type thing occur again. And I think the neighbors would enjoy that. And once we know when we have that date, I will advise Ms. Gint, and she can have neighbors, and then we'll ask the Knowles if they allow me back on their property again. What are your thoughts on that?
I would say we would agree to that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Leon?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank Alderwoman Day. She said much more succinctly what I was getting at. But again, the reason that I support referring up to 65 decibels is because I don't think last year was successful. You went into the details promotionally, but a lot of the comments that were out there, some at our very meetings, were about the difficulty hearing just the announcement of games. So I do think that 65 is a good number this year, and if it needs to be adjusted going forward, we'll have that as a benchmark where it is up to, I think it's about 18% higher than last year. So I would, when we make a motion, refer or recommend to council that it be at that 65, but for all events at Ballpark Commons.
For all events, because we've already dealt with tacos and tequila, and not Phase Fest yet, but we already have approved, and we've already dealt with tacos and tequila. So the ones that are mentioned here on the agenda
Sure.
item. Okay, so would you like to read the motion? Recommended motion.
Yeah, just to clarify, any direction from the Plan Commission on the condition number 4, that is that the applicant must submit the noise monitoring report as required by the ordinance 2019-2368 no later than, and the proposed resolution has that deadline blank, subject to direction
Dave,
from the
what are your
Plan
thoughts?
Commission.
I was going to throw out June 1st. Since it's in theory, should have been done a while ago. So, it gives a little over a month if it hasn't been completed.
And I guess I'll chime in with you, is I don't know what the magnitude of that report would entail. And so I don't know. I know it's 6 years late, but I don't know exactly what that would entail. But do you think June 1st, or do you want to give it June 15th, an extra couple weeks? I'm just saying, you've got to have some sort of reasonableness, because you don't want to jeopardize, but I'm not exactly sure what that would entail. And I know they don't, because it predates them. And I don't want to put them in a precarious situation, because I don't know what it entails. Mr. Martinez, while she's looking up that, do you know what that report entails?
Well, the ordinance only says a noise monitoring report.
A noise what?
Monitoring report.
I don't know what that entails, and I don't want to. What if you Google that and it's some sort of crazy 150-page document? I don't know. That's why I think I would be very cautious about putting that out there. I understand it's been not turned in prior, but perhaps you give them a full 60-day.
We could maybe do, if we do maybe June 19th, that's a night of a Plan Commission meeting.
Mr. City Attorney had a comment on this?
I just thought July 1st. you do it the night of the plan commission meeting, it might first arrive at the city on that day and
That's true.
July 1? I mean, Mr. City Attorney, is that what your recommendation is?
just a thought.
It's a great thought. What do you think about that?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
July 1.
So, a motion to adopt a resolution imposing conditions and restrictions for the approval of a temporary use for the Franklin Field 2025 baseball season for property located at 7035 South Ballpark Drive, and recommend a maximum sound level of 60 decibels to the Common Council.
65.
65. Okay.
Nice try, Regulo.
Dana was a fan.
Okay. And the condition about the noise monitoring report that should be submitted no later than July 1st.
So moved.
Well, why don't we put in there that there'll also be a sound check prior to the first Milkman pitch?
I'm amenable to that.
Because I don't know when the first game is.
In the 15-minute
And
Okay.
coverage.
Okay, let's add, okay, so I would like to see the sound check done before the first pitch, whenever that first game is. And then Alderwoman Day, could you state your?
And then to please also add the 15-minute correction period for the police department. Thank you.
Are you,
amenable to both.
okay, so Mr. Leone is amenable to both those things. Mr. Martinez, you get your hand up.
Yeah, I think according to the application, the first game that has already occurred.
The first Milkman game.
Milkman game. Okay.
Milkman game. You are correct, though. I believe they've had UWM games, but before the
Okay.
first pitch of the Milkman season 2025.
Okay.
All right, so Mr. Leone, are you amenable to that?
As a proud Panther alum, I am.
Join the crowd.
Is there a second to this?
Second.
Wait, first and a second. Let's do a roll call, please, in case it gets
Okay.
crazy.
Commissioner Shugo,
No.
Alderman Saluz,
Aye.
Alderwoman Day,
Aye.
Commissioner Leon.
Aye.
So mayor votes aye, so it's 4 ayes, 1 no. Motion carries. Interesting.
The application was late again this year, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
May I comment on that piece?
Mr. Conley, you have the floor, sir.
So just for the record, we did have a meeting on, and let me pull this up here so I'm correct. March 7th with city staff, and then we turned the application in shortly after that. But the meeting was in place to make sure that we submitted everything properly.
So you had that meeting March 7th to go over that with city staff to make sure everything was inclusive of your permit.
That is correct, yes.
Still not the 90.
Sorry for not
Going.
I
bringing
know.
that up sooner.
All right. Thank you for that clarification, and thank you for appearing tonight. Moving on to item E as in Edward number 3, Department of City Development Annual Report for 2024. Mr. Martinez.
Thank you. Good evening. This is a review of the department's activities last year. So basically, the development review, enforcement, and staff support to different boards and commissions, and long-range planning projects. Basically, a summary of last year and the goals for this year. With development review, that is kind of the applications that the department process and permits. By the time of the report was prepared in February, 90% of the applications were completed. That's kind of similar of previous year at about 91%. The total of applications that the department received decreased 11%. Which is new last year was that now planning is doing a review for residential building permits. So, for example, a fence that is submitted to the inspection department, then the inspection department creates a review for planning, for engineering. So then planning review compliance with the UDO, engineering review compliance with their code, and this will kind of reduce issues that maybe weren't missed previously because only the inspection department was doing the review for compliance with building codes, but they were not the kind of the experts on the UDO. So now the planning reviewing that part kind of to catch any issues with compliance and reduce errors in permits. That's really improved the permit review. However, that kind of demands more staff hours of planning staff. And also we implemented a postcard for public hearing notices that really reduced like printing costs and staff hours. So that increased the efficiency. For enforcement and complaints, by February, 94% of all complaints received last year were reviewed and closed. This is an improvement to previous year that was about 85%. I would like to know that there's a bulk of complaints. There are like noise complaints related to ballpark commons. However, most of these complaints, since are related to special events, which is enforced by police department, most of them are referred to the police department. And also total complaints that the department has. We have kind of worked on these all complaints from previous year, and now we're down to 19 open complaints. When this report was prepared, last year was about 35 open complaints. That's another improvement. Staff support to boards and commissions. Maybe you already know the department staff attends 9 different boards and commissions, a total of 72 meetings a year.
It's insane.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I thought that hopefully we'll have an improvement for this year with the combination of the parks and the environmental commission.
And one thing I'd like to add to that is we've had we've reduced the committee of the whole meetings too. Luckily, we've been able to, as a council, take on that opposed to having an additional committee of the whole. So, thank you.
So long range planning, I'm just going to, this is the whole list, but just going to the highlights. The UD office schedule that was updated after 20 years. City's floodplain zoning ordinance also was updated. The rural and urban areas was updated. Last update was like in the 80s. And to improve the efficiency, the business park, the PDD ordinance was amended to allow for review by staff of minor improvements, because with the previous ordinance, even small additions like a fence or a small building will need to go to the Community Development Authority. So with that change, kind of allow staff, and that also reduce the number of meetings. Okay. Then for goals for this year, the UDO rewrite that was recommended by for approval by the Plan Commission, the noise ordinance that we talked tonight, and also an update to the comprehensive master plan.
Is that a different slide? Did it get weird?
No, this is the last slide.
Yeah.
Okay, you're just, okay,
Yeah.
I thought maybe you had another slide.
Sorry, no,
Bring
no.
it home and.
Um,
Bring it home.
So yeah, so that's all for the annual report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions, comments? Well done, thank you. And to, hopefully, the goal with that combination of Parks and Environmental will also help relieve staff of the obligations, which are never ending, plus your normal job, plus your normal communications. It's just, it's crazy. So thank you for everything you're doing. Alderman Day.
Yeah, for the record, I just want to say to Mr. Martinez and your staff, thank you for all of the hours that you put in and coming to all of the meetings and all of the reports that you write. For me personally, they're very helpful for all of the meetings that I am a part of. So I do appreciate all the time that you put in during your normal day and at night for all of us as well. So thank you to you and the rest of your staff.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Anytime.
Ditto.
Mr. Leon stated ditto. Alderman Salus.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Shaw said thank you very much. Alderman Salus, anything?
I just, I definitely appreciate the work that you guys do. I feel, I feel the hours and the effort you guys put together. My question to you, is there any recommendation to streamline the process to make the getting permit and development easier, merging any committees, any other recommendation, because I really like to see streamline the permitting process to make sure it's easy and fast. Is there any suggestion? I'm just asking you if you have a say. Is there anything that you recommend that we should consider?
Yeah, sure. That's the project, the Unified Development Ordinance Rewrite Project. That kind of reduced, like for example, for small buildings under 20,000 square feet, that goes only for staff approval and kind of reduce all project will need to go to Plan Commission and allow for more staff approval. Actually, the Plan Commission recommended approval of that ordinance draft last month.
Mhm.
And then that's going to come on council, tentatively May 6th.
Like sometimes I seen a couple of times came on the agenda, someone basically has a fence trespass few inches, and I feel bad for the applicant that he has to go through this hassle. Maybe if there is a certain minor items, if that could be approved by the staff, and if the staff did not approve that, then basically the applicant has a chance to appeal it to the higher authority. It's just rather than wasting tremendous amount of time over a fence few inches,
Right. Just an example, the current code says the maximum height for fences is 6 feet. And then there are many cases that, the fence panel is 6 feet, but the post is a few inches over.
Yeah.
Then requires a variance. So in the new code, we're saying that, okay, maximum height for the panel is 6 feet and it allows 6 extra inches for the post. So in that way, staff can approve
eliminate
that without the variance.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, with this is simply
Accept and
accept
place
and
on file.
place on file. Is there a motion to that?
So moved.
Second.
First and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
First and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. We are adjourned at 7:52 PM.
It's the newest.
7:52.